Title: I picked up a hitchhiker on a rainy night, but she was already in my backseat. Rain hammered against my windshield so hard I could barely see the road. It was just after midnight, and the mountain highway was completely empty except for one girl standing beneath a broken streetlight. She wore a soaked white hoodie, her head lowered, one arm wrapped around herself to keep warm. I slowed down, rolled down the passenger window, and asked if she needed a ride. She nodded without saying a word and climbed into the back seat instead of the front. I thought it was strange, but I didn't question it. We drove in silence while the rain pounded the roof. After a few minutes, I glanced into the rearview mirror to ask where she was headed. The backseat was empty. I slammed on the brakes, my heart racing. There was no way she could have gotten out. The doors were still locked. Then, from directly behind my ear, a quiet voice whispered, "You never told me to leave." Every muscle in my body froze. I spun around so fast I nearly hit the steering wheel, but the backseat was still empty. The whisper had sounded so close I could feel warm breath on my neck. I jumped out of the car into the pouring rain, convinced someone was hiding inside. I searched under the seats, opened the trunk, and even shined my phone's flashlight into the woods. Nothing, just rain and the wind. My phone suddenly buzzed with a weather alert, but before I could read it, the screen flickered to the camera app by itself. The front camera showed only my terrified face. Then it switched to the rear camera. I wasn't pointing it at anything, yet someone was sitting quietly in my back seat. The girl stared directly into the lens, smiling. I turned around instantly. The seat was empty again. When I looked back at my phone, the camera had captured one final image. She was no longer in the car. She was standing behind me. I refused to turn around. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The rain fell harder, drowning out everything except my heartbeat. With shaking hands, I opened the photo again. She was still there behind me, smiling with her head tilted. Then the image changed by itself. She slowly raised one finger and pointed toward my car. I forced myself to look. The back door was wide open, gently swinging in the wind. I knew I'd locked every door. Fighting every ounce of fear, I jumped into the driver's seat, slammed the doors, and sped away without looking in the mirrors. By sunrise, I convinced myself it had all been panic and exhaustion. Later that afternoon, I checked the local news. A report showed an old photograph of a girl who had disappeared on that same highway 20 years earlier during a storm. She was wearing a white hoodie. She had the same smile, and I recognized the face immediately. She'd been sitting behind me the whole drive.